Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, and good day to you. Hmm. Welcome to another episode of Ade Presents Being You, the podcast. Yeah, today I'm excited because my guest today, who's not really a guest, she's me. She's a mentor. She's a friend. She's my midwife, my spiritual midwife. For those of you saying, what? And she has supported me in walking a lot of journeys. And I've said this before, I've said it many times. Those of you who've been watching and following me know you may remember me saying this. Rev D, Reverend Deborah L. Johnson, played a major role in who I am today. Her messages, the downloads, the sacred yes, and your deepest intent, and two books that I strongly recommend if you don't have it. Maybe those of you who've been listening to us many years ago saying, I got to buy that book, and you forgot. This is another reminder. But the downloads in the book has helped me stay alive, stay grounded, stay true, and stay committed to this path, to this walk, to this mission, to this ministry, to this service. And it's been a long time since we last had a conversation. So I am excited to bring on my friend, my mentor, my spiritual midwife, the one and only Reverend Deborah L. Johnson, also known as Rev D. And I used to say, I call her Rev D, and you can too. Not that you need my permission, but hey, I want to feel like I gotta give you permission. Hey, Rev D.
Yes. With full permission, Rev D now is my new branding.
That's right, Rev D now, and
Rev D
you've been
now.
nowing for a long time. Your message is relevant. I've talked about this. The first time I met you at Hillside, I see it now vividly. Came to Hillside with Valerie Joy, and Dr. Barbara announced, we got some guests in the house, and you got up, and she said, come over here and say something. And I was like, who's this woman? Okay. I'm on the camera. I was part of the volunteers in the media department. And you got on and you said hello to everybody. And then you dropped it like it was hot. And it was. You spoke for 10, 15 minutes. And I could have said, that's it. We could all go home now. Unfortunately for Dr. Barbara, I don't even know if I remember I don't remember what she said after you. Because I was like, who is this woman? Who? And
well, but
you had me at hello.
That's actually what happened. I went up to say a couple of things, and I went to sit back down, and she pushed me back up and said, you give the message. And I was like, what? She said, no, you're doing fine. You give it. Yeah. So like, okay.
Right. We obviously been talking, well, obvious to us, but not to the audience. We've been talking before this. And even though I said, let's start with something, I want to start with something that's happening now. Mm-hmm. You said, Rev D, Dr. Barbara said, you give the message. Now, you go ahead and do it. And you said, okay. Mm-hmm. There wasn't like, oh, I haven't prepared for this. I didn't write my speech. Oh my God. Let's talk about that process of how you were called and you said yes. And because I feel like with all that we're going through, we're in a time where God's life, our life, the life of God is looking for people to say yes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel like people are still waiting to say, I don't know which course I'm going to take, but we've been doing the course. So what were your story, and also how can we prepare ourselves for moments that cause us to show up in that moment without going, well, I haven't done this in a long time. Oh, I just came to visit my family. I wasn't trying to speak. But then we can say yes and follow through. How do we prepare ourselves? How did you prepare yourself for that, for that moment?
Well, take a breath. Everybody just I mean literally, wherever you are now, just take a breath or two. Okay?
Yes.
It gets us out of our head and down into our heart a little bit more. What I would say is that learning to say yes is a process. Okay, it's it's like a spiritual muscle that we have to develop. You don't just get up and run a marathon. You know, you you work at it and you cultivate it so that you can stay in a state of preparedness. And I want to be like very, very specific about this. It's not like okay, I'm sitting around and I'm a firefighter and I'm waiting for the bell to ring, and then I hop in the hop in the fire truck and say yes to fighting this fire. It's that there's a consistency, there's a discipline that we develop of being available. See, we come up with excuses all the time. Why not me? Why not now? Later? It's too much. I don't have time. I'm not good enough. What if I fail? It's like we have all of these little things that happen. And what we have to learn how to do is just like little by little, one by one, feel that stuff, but do it anyway. That don't wait to not feel that. It's like if you're a parent, there are going to be a lot of days you don't feel like getting up and and driving anybody around, or being a cook, or this or that. You're not feeling it, okay? But you're committed to being a parent. Okay, so you're just going to show up every day for what it takes to be a parent. Some days it's a little bit more nurse. Some days it's a little bit more disciplinarian. Some days it's a little more this or that. But you've committed to something that's even bigger and greater than your own personal self. See, and that's where the yes factor comes in. It's when you locate your life in something greater than your own personal life. Okay. And you realize, and here to me is where the big shift comes. Everybody just take a breath. Take another breath. We can show up better in yes when we know we are a verb. You're not a noun. You're a verb. Okay. We are activity in motion. We're energy. We're not just entities. And when you know that you are energy, you realize that you are being used. Okay, you're being used. So that moment at Hillside, I could say yes. This was our first meeting. Dr. King, Barbara King's and my first meeting. I could say yes because I could trust that God had something to say. Okay? That this setup couldn't have been a coincidence. You know what I mean? So it's like, don't make this about me. This isn't about you, Deborah, and are you ready or are you prepared? This isn't even about that. This is about you're here all the way from California to Atlanta, and you're sitting up here with an elder, somebody can be your mama, who's a pioneer before you, okay? For whom, if it were not for women like her, you couldn't have your own pulpit. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is a moment. This is like, and you're in Atlanta, okay? You're in
right.
And here we are, these two Black women that got the nerve to be pastors and have our own pulpit, and she's got the generosity to put the baton in the hands of a stranger from the next generation. Oh, this is God's doing something up in here.
Yes.
And I'm bearing witness to it. It's like, wow, I don't know what's happening here, but but
something is happening.
But who am I to shut that down? You know what I'm saying? Who am I to put a monkey wrench, in that wheel of this thing that's like, wow, all of this is happening. Okay. Just be a part of it. Like Jesus was always telling people, it's not me. It's something within that's doing it. So the yes isn't so much about me or us as it is yes to the universe. Yes to divine order, yes to right action, yes to creativity, yes to that something that's bigger than we are. So when I stay in curiosity, where is this gonna go?
Ooh, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, because the biggest times that I have to say yes, it's where everything has stacked together in such a way that it almost seems crazy. Like, how in the world did this happen? And the crazier it is, the more I know I need to say yes. The more bizarre it seems. Like the story I like to tell when I get this call to go into a prison. And I've never even so much as been inside a jail. All right. This was in 2000. And I'm getting this message that a Muslim imam wants me to come into a male prison. And I was thinking that he was from the nation. Okay, but he was from the Muslim American Society, which was like the split off that happened with Malcolm X, and there was a group that stayed like Black nationalist, and then there was a group that went the direction that Malcolm was starting to go of being more like multicultural. Well, it was that group and a guy who was with corrections, arts and corrections. And I'm looking at this and the way it came to me and about how they wanted me to come in and help the men to be better men And this is honestly, I know I've told this on your show before. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking,
y'all lost your mind.
a Black Muslim wants me, an out lesbian pastor, to come into this male prison and talk to them about
this math ain't nothing.
Helping them be better men. And I remember I looked up at the sky and I said, God, what are you smoking? I did. And it was so crazy. I knew, okay, this is Spirit's fingerprints. This is Spirit's fingerprints. And it turned into a life-altering experience of a 20-something, ongoing relationship. And prison outreach has been one of the best things in my life. But I wouldn't have gotten there if I said no.
Right.
You get what I'm, it's that curiosity thing of, okay, something's trying to happen here. That's, I don't get it. I don't understand it. But what I know now is that life's not there to hurt me. Okay, if it's calling and it's presenting itself, then there's a blessing in there for me. And as I said to you moments before we started this, I said, I've had to learn that my blessing is right on the other side of my no.
And it's interesting that you said that just now, because I just wrote something down to remember. Like when we are not clear, we can literally say no to the very thing that we've asked for, that we're praying for, that we want, because it doesn't look like what we think it needs to look like.
Bingo. Bingo. Because it's not dressed up
right
the way that we think that it should be dressed. But that's part of the blessing. Is that if it all happened the way that we thought that it happened, we'd be taking credit.
Yeah.
We'd miss the divinity in it all. We'd miss the mystery, the majesty, because it all unfolded according to our plans.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where the curiosity comes in, is just how good can good be? Just how many ways can Spirit make something happen that's beyond what I know? So I don't have to worry about just what do I have? What can I bring to the table? Am I enough? But Spirit just wants a vessel or a vehicle to work through. Okay. So you just show up and the words will come through your mouth.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You'll be told what to do when you're in it. We learn on the journey. We don't want to even do it. We don't even want to get started till we know the destination and know everything. But no, you become it on the journey.
Yes. And there are many times, I mean, I know that two things. Like somebody can wake me up at 4 o'clock in the morning and ask me something to speak on a topic. And I might go, okay, well, let me wash my face because I'm ready. And I always find it fascinating that that's a minute before I open my mouth, even 30 seconds, I didn't have those words. But I say the first words and there's more coming and there's more coming and I'm feeling it. I mean, sometimes I'm not even, it's just coming. I'm like, it's later on, I'm thinking, where did that come from? It got to a point that sometimes I write some things down many, many years ago and I was still feeling like I'm not ready, I'm not enough. And I will go back and look at things that were written. There's nobody's name onto it, but I'm thinking, did I write that? It's like I think I did, but what if I was listening to Michael Beckwith? I wrote that. So once I had too many of those experiences, every time that download comes, I put my name next to it because I'm going to forget that came through me.
Yes.
And I'm learning even more to keep surrendering to that because that is the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the not know. And, talking about things not looking the way we want it to look like, I often say, if we knew how things are going to happen, we're going to mess it up.
Exactly.
Because then we'll be trying to like, oh, no, because I know in next week this is going to happen. So let me make sure I'm ready. We're not even present anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, and I get so many spirit downloads that confirm exactly what you're saying. That it's not that the universe is hiding things from us. It's that we can't see them because we're so busy trying to make it how we want it to be. But the moment that we let go, the moment that we surrender, then most often the things that we've been looking for are right there. I'm sure anybody listening to this has had that experience. Let's just say you've been in a relationship with someone, and it could be anything. It could be a parental situation, siblings, partnering, anything in your church, whatever. And you're at these loggerheads, okay? And when you finally got to the point where you decided to stop fighting, when you finally got to the point to stop trying to like push your agenda or make the person do whatever it is that you wanted to do, voila, they suddenly do it.
Yes.
And I know this pisses people off in one-on-one relationships, romantic relationships, how as soon as they walk away and let go, the person starts showing up the way they wanted them to be with somebody else.
Yes. That is so true. It's like, damn, why weren't you like that with me? With everything that I did.
Because
Yes.
we let go and then walked away. But if we had let go and stayed, maybe we might have gotten some of the some of the fruit.
What we invested in,
But it's true. We block our good trying to control it. And if you really ask yourself, what do you have to lose by saying yes? What really do you have to lose? Are we any safer? Are we any wiser? Are we any more fulfilled or happy? More prosperous? I don't think so. I don't think so. And as hard as people think it may be to say yes, I contend it's harder to say no. Just like it literally takes more muscles in the face to frown than it does to smile. That the locked up energy that it takes. You know, as hard as you think it is to forgive, holding on to grudge is harder. It's gonna take more energy. It's going to take up more psychic space. It's going to impede creativity and more love that can outflow from you. Hang on to it long enough and it's going to metastasize in your body and show up as all kind of illnesses or blockages or all of the rest of that. We pay a heavy price. Whereas if we just go along with the program and allow ourselves to get into the consciousness of the forgiveness, that most often we're really shocked that at that moment when it feels like we have that breakthrough, it's not painful. It's a relief and it's a release. The pain is the stewing over it. The pain is in all of the resistance and what I don't want to have happen and what is this going to look like and what is it going to feel? It's the contemplation and the going over all the scenarios of what can happen. That's where the pain is. But that sweet moment of the engagement, even if they're on the other side, that sweet moment of that reconciliation, everything breaks. The protective garb comes off, the swords go down. There's this kind of raw nakedness, vulnerability that's standing there. And it's such a relief. It's such a just fall into the grace of that moment.
And in that moment, as I ride with you, it's like in saying yes, the vulnerability and the rawness is almost like, well, it is giving up all the energy that we've used to hold things back. We can actually relax, and we become like a vessel, an outlet, like water. Water will find an outlet. Water is not trying to say, oh, this wall, there is no water. We just keep going till it finds an outlet. So we become the outlet and we're literally refreshed. Now we can overthink it, overanalyze it or whatever, but somebody might drop something. We may hear the voice of spirit in a way that we've never heard it before. It's like, that is exactly what you needed to do. Somebody will say something, I needed to hear that. Brené Brown, when she did her TED talk that went viral, she talked about vulnerability and it was powerful. It's what launched her into the world. She said after that, she called her friends like, oh my God, was that too much? And she was panicking like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And the friend said, for somebody who went out there talking about vulnerability with so much passion, you certainly suck at it. I mean, she said she was petrified that she talked about vulnerability like that. And that's the thing that took her to that made more people know. It went viral. It went viral. And let's talk about, there's so many things I want to talk about, because every time you say something, one word triggers something for me. So this thing about living in the not know. And part of living in the not know, I'm going to weave a lot together and let you do what you do. Living in the not know it's a space that we encounter when we're feeling vulnerable, when we're feeling raw. And as a society globally, we are in a place that we're being invited to live in and not know, but sometimes we're bringing old belief system, old ideas. I know what needs to happen, so how do we live in the not know and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, maybe even tender, naked, when there seems to be leaders of the world that are just saying, when's going to be the next war? Next week? It's like missiles are just, and when, of course, then people think of vulnerability as making us weak. How do we take this, the medicine of being vulnerable, spiritually vulnerable, raw nakedness, and embrace not knowing and being able to move and do and be, not even do, and be the place for God to reveal itself?
Well, everybody take a breath.
Yeah, I heard it coming.
Take a breath. A couple of scriptural passages are coming to my mind. To be in it, but not of it. In it. New Testament was first in Greek. And that word in Greek means to be inside of, next to, around, submerged in, above, behind, below, beside. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's all over you. Okay.
Marinating. We're
Yeah.
marinating in it.
Yeah. And not in it, but not of it. That of is the Greek word ek, which also means from. Okay, you're not of it. You're the substance of who you are, nor is it where you're from. Okay, so we're in stuff that's not us. That's the first thing that you got to do. Is you cannot so identify with the stuff that it's you. This is a problem with the English language in particular, where we are what we have. We are the experience. So it's like, I am sick. I am poor. I am hungry. As opposed to something like Spanish, I have hunger. I have 20 years. Not I am. Okay. So the first thing is a question of our identity. Okay. There's a personal truth, which is the stuff of this world, the facts, the different experiences, what's going on, collective consciousness, your background, your lineage, like all that stuff, social demographic profile. But then there's your spiritual truth. Seeing your spiritual truth is transcendent of that. Okay, because we are human incarnations. Carne, flesh. There's something in the flesh. Okay, and that something that's in the flesh is transcendent of the flesh. Okay, it didn't start with this flesh form. It doesn't end with this flesh form.
It was before the flesh, right?
Exactly. This soul's essence is our divinity, and it is not defined nor limited by the circumstances or the conditions. Are you with me? It's not limited by it. The music doesn't stop because there's war. The music doesn't stop because there's war. See, none of these things stop, and that's who we are. See, we are one with the essence that created everything. We are one with the joy. What we're looking for, we're looking with. It's who we are. It's who we are. So we have to have that bold audacity to claim that's who we are, regardless of the circumstance. All healing traditions are trying to tell us this. They're saying it doesn't matter that if you an alcoholic, it doesn't matter if you were sexually abused, it doesn't matter if you were incarcerated, it doesn't matter if you're divorced, it doesn't matter if you have cancer. You know, it like these things don't matter because there's a you in there that is transcendent of all of that. And it wants to be the all that it can be, even in the midst of all of that. See, that's the place where we have to stand, where there's no amount of abuse, there's no amount of crazy, there's no amount of enslavement, there's no amount of oppression or anything that can make us forget that we are sons and daughters of the Most High and transcendent of all of this. That's the place where we have to live, where we're not looking out upon the landscape and seeing what everybody else is doing, how they are abusing their power, the spiritual amnesia that they are living in. We don't have to take that on. And that's the secret to all of this. Staying awake, staying aware, not judging by the appearances, daring to have your energetic field vibrate at the highest frequency that it can. Isn't what I'm saying? The battle that we're in, so to speak, is not about politics. It's not about policies. It's not about it. It's about energy. What frequency is going to dominate?
Yes.
See, because people tap into those frequencies and then act accordingly.
Yes.
See, so what frequency is going to have the dominant resonance? Is it going to be fear or possibility? Is it going to be supremacy or oneness? But we decide that, not the politicians.
Right.
That's our choice. And we know what happens. We know what happens on the negative. Well, the same thing happens on the positive. It's like the more people who are being racist or misogynistic or you know, xenophobic or any of that stuff, the more that goes on, other people tap into that.
Yes.
Other people respond to that. See, we know that. But it also is true in the converse. That the more people who are holding the high watch, the more people that are standing for peace, who are standing for it, that's when something changes. We can't be out-faithed.
Again.
You know, people who believe that violence in war is the answer are believing that more so than people who say they believe in peace. See, people who believe in war, they aren't going, well, you know, we need to bomb and it, but oh, what about if all those peaceful people come in? You know, what, you know, what's going to happen to our military plans? while these
Yes.
peaceful people come in. But the peaceful people are doing the other. They're like, oh, we believe in peace. Oh, but what's going to happen when all these military people come in, with all of their, war stuff? The war people ain't worried about the peace folks. Because,
Nope.
because
Nope.
they're living where they're living. But the peace folks are bowing down and living in fear of the war folk.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's like just saying.
Absolutely.
This is an inside job. And we can't be anything in the collective that we are not being in the individual. You can't have a warring nation without warring people. I remember this poster when I was growing up in the Vietnam era, and it said, "What if we threw a war and nobody came?"
Mm.
What if we
Yes.
threw a war and nobody came?
Mm.
You can't. It's like people who are happy aren't going to riot.
Right.
You just so it's like that. It's if we want a peaceful nation, we have to be peaceful. We have to be it.
Mm-hmm.
See, and then as we become it, we can stand for that. We can't stand for it if we're always caving.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be it, we're going to need to surrender, which brings us to the place of vulnerability and nakedness.
But here's the problem, Ade, is that the English language isn't a language of spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have spiritual words. And we
Right.
are recycling the same words with
Mm-hmm.
completely opposite meanings
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
spiritual realm and in the secular realm.
Yeah.
So in the secular realm, vulnerability means weakness.
Yes.
Vulnerability means allowing yourself to be put in a position to be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it means in spiritual realm.
Right.
What it means in spiritual realm is not that you surrender. It's another one of those words. Like in the secular world, surrender means to admit defeat.
Mm-hmm.
But surrender means you stop fighting because you realize there's no fight. So that vulnerability in the spiritual world isn't showing up knowing that I can be hurt. It's the opposite. It's showing up knowing that no matter what it is that happens, the victory is still guaranteed.
Yes.
I may go through a couple of things here or there, but whatever it is that's going on can't have the last word.
Yeah.
So it's completely different. It reminds me in the Sacred Yes, in the collection of downloads that I get, which is being a Christ is knowing you can't be killed and forgiving them for trying to anyway.
Right.
See, so that would be an example of that vulnerability. It would be, I'm going to go on here and be my Christ self, and y'all going to keep trying to kill me.
Yes.
Okay. But if I hid, fearing that you could kill me, and really stop me, then I can't fulfill my Christ self.
And you already did.
Exactly. That's what I try to tell people all the time, is that when I was growing up in the Cold War, we were always worried about Russia bombing, the nuclear warfare. And we were trained to get up underneath the desks and all the fallout shelters and emergency broadcast and all the rest of that kind of stuff. People aren't going to drop the bomb on us now. We're not going to explode. We're going to implode.
Mm.
They don't have to worry about attacking us from the outside, because enough seeds of dissension have been planted that we're pulling ourselves apart from the inside.
Absolutely.
We're pulling ourselves apart from the inside. See, so it's we're doing the dirty work. The disillusionment, the anger, the divisiveness, the disengagement, all of that stuff, it's a weapon to wear you down.
Yes.
To get you to the point where you just cave in and you just give up out of a sense of hopelessness and despair, because everything is just so overwhelming. That's a takeover move.
Absolutely.
Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. We are more than this.
Absolutely.
This is a problem all over the world.
Yeah. Indeed.
We are at an inflection point with this negative, divisive, autocratic, authoritarian, all that crap. Supremacy, warmongering. Like, no, we cannot allow for that to be the dominant frequency.
Yeah.
We cannot. There is no time to waste. That all of us have to bring the yes factor now. You don't have to know what it looks like. You don't have to know where you're going to know you're headed in the right direction. We just need to go in the direction of yes, the direction of peace, the direction of possibility, the direction of power, the direction of oneness, the direction of sufficiency. Just boom.
Yeah.
That direction without wavering. I don't care what the rest of them are doing.
Yeah.
This is where we're going. This is where we're going.
So much. So much.
Well, this is rich. I hope everybody who's listening to this comes back.
Can I say this, Rev D?
Soaks it all in, shares it, thinks about it.
Can I say this? Because I before we release this conversation, I think it's important. You said what we talked about is global, and America has such a great influence in this globalization of the world. And I hear people that I respect, that I listen to about what's going on in the world, and other people. And people, it seems like some people are voting from a place of fear. Like, if we don't vote Biden in, Trump is going to come in. Because I think some people just need to, people, how we listen differently. It's like that idea, we got to vote because or else what we got? Trump. That not having not being able to vote for possibility. As short as I know you got to go, but what would you say to people to say, I hear all that, but right now this is what we're dealing with. we got to vote Biden, even though I don't really, this is I'm using politics because that's a common conversation that goes on globally.
Yes. What I would say is that it's not about the candidates. It's what they represent. It's all the people who come with them. It's all the policies. It's all of that. Okay? And we are at an inflection point where a choice has to be made about what kind of people are we going to be? What kind of nation are we going to be? Are we going to be a nation that stands up for human rights? Whether it's racial equity, whether it's freedom of choice, whether it's marriage equality, or it's like I could just go on and on and on.
Right.
Are we going to be a nation that stands up for the environment, for the planet, and says we need to do everything that we can do to keep the planet going? Are we going to be a nation that stands up for science and and literary freedom?
Yes.
For education? Are we going to be a nation that stands up for a free press that can do its job and criticize? Are we going to be a nation that really stands up for the rule of law that can be equally applied, to everybody? Are we going to be a nation of diversity? Okay? It's a really clear picture,
right,
of who's standing where here and who's being put in power and positions. Are we going to be a nation where every time we don't get our way, we resort to violence and attacking everybody from the poll workers to the clerks and law, where anytime you're against their view, they're gonna have insurrection and rioting and storming the Capitol. Are we gonna stand for free and fair elections? It's like I could go on and on. This is the choice. The choice isn't about a person. It's about a whole system. And here's the thing. There's no such thing as not voting. There's no such thing. When you don't vote, you give your proxy to the people who are voting. You let somebody else make your decision for you. And I get real hot up under the collar about this. I really do. Because when people want to reduce it down to personalities, and I don't like this and I don't like that. Well, what do you think the first slaves who were freed voted for? Huh? Do you really think that they had some slate of candidates that was all about them and their empowerment? They voted because it gave them the voice. They voted because it was their civic responsibility. They voted because they could. Because they could. It's like the family meeting. where all the family comes in, like to make the decision. And if you don't show up at the family meeting, don't whine and cry.
That's it. Decisions
If
were
you
made.
don't vote, shut the hell up.
Yes.
If you don't vote, don't complain about what everybody else is doing. Because you didn't even bother to show up. You can't have it both ways.
That's it.
You can't renege to exercise your influence at the appropriate time when you can in the ballot box, but then want to have influence in all these other arenas. No.
Right.
It's just not that kind of party. And when I think about all of the efforts and the sacrifices, you know, we just celebrated King weekend a few days ago. And the crowning jewel of his career was the voting rights bill. What was Bloody Sunday about? You know, it's like, what was all of that? What was all that marching and stuff about and for? And how do you have the nerve to have parades and to celebrate him and whatnot, and then be talking about not voting?
Yes.
I actually put something up on Facebook about that yesterday.
Really?
I did. I did. I said, because I don't know when this airs, but like when I recorded that, it was the day after his birthday. I said, okay, the parades are gone. The speeches are over. Now what?
Yes.
Now what? Now how do we keep his legacy going? And I even said, and for those of you who are thinking about not voting, I ended it like that. I said, here's what I want you to do. I said, just write down like your 3 or 4 top reasons why you're not going to vote. And I want you to pretend like you're telling that to Dr. King. And I want you to listen to his response. Yeah, well, what would he say about that? It was no shaming. I didn't go. It was like, just tell him all about it, okay?
Yes. Yes.
After you done all of this, woo, Dr. King. Well, yeah, you just tell him about your plans to not vote. Yeah.
I think the theme is, it starts with me. So yes.
Always.
It starts with us.
Always.
We are the ones.
Always. Don't get stuck on personalities. You can't get stuck on personalities. I mean, they were being shot like flies when I was growing up. President Kennedy, Bobby Kennedy got killed right when I was doing a paper on him, just like miles away from where I was, like less than 60 days after King Jr. was killed. And Malcolm X and Medgar Evers. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. And you know what? You just keep on stepping.
That's it.
Because it's not about like one person. It's not even about one issue. It's about a collective totality of moving forward. Okay. What laws are Congress going to pass? Because it's not just about like the presidency, it's the whole kit and caboodle. Who's going to be approving what judges? Who Come on now.
Right. Yeah.
We can see what happens when who gets to control who gets on the Supreme Court. You know, I mean, there's just so much at stake. Don't make this about a person.
Yes. Absolutely.
They're just at the top of the food chain, but it's the whole machinery.
Mm.
You know, it's the whole strategy, it's the whole direction. And what's wonderful is that it's the first time we don't have to guess.
It's in plain sight.
We don't have to wonder what it's going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Right.
we have a cross comparison
Mm-hmm.
of a term of each administration and what they did and what they stand for and how they operate and their relationship to truth and indictments
Yes.
and national
Yes.
security. And it's like in
Yes.
all these things, it's like, are you kidding?
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding? So, like, I would like vision to pull. I would like for people to be voting for all the things that I was talking about. But I'm gonna tell you now, if pain pushing, that's good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough. Let the pain push you to the pole.
If
Yeah,
just
vote.
stopping the chaos,
Yes.
you know, and
Yeah.
I'll end on this because it says
Mm,
it so well.
mm, mm,
I think it was Truman that
mm,
King was speaking to, and he was being asked, well, do you really think that we can legislate love? You keep talking about love. Like, can we do this? And I love King's response. He's like, no, sir. You know, a deep voice. He says, I don't think that we can create a law to make a man love me,
mm,
but we can make a law to prevent him from killing me.
mhm.
And I'm willing to start there.
That's it. We'll get to the love part later. I need to stay alive to get to the love.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yes.
like, if you don't like this person with it, just keep the democracy alive long enough
Mm,
to be
mm,
able to get the people that you do want in.
yes.
But if you sell it out now, it's curtains. And I don't mean that in some rhetorical kind of way.
I
I
mean,
mean it like
we saw the dress rehearsal. Yeah.
this
Mm,
2024
mhm,
is no joke.
mhm.
You cannot sit on the sidelines. You cannot sit on the sideline. When I was speaking at um, one of the anniversary of George Floyd's murder, and that very day, there had been like another police killing and whatnot. It was just like this onslaught. And I remember I was standing there on the steps of City Hall in Santa Cruz, you know, where my ministry is, California. And I was just, I was so emotional, just like so emotional. And I went to the podium and I remember the first words out my mouth. I said, we are exhausted.
Mm,
I said, as Black people, we are just exhausted.
mm,
But we don't have the luxury to be tired.
mm. 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 Yes.
We don't have the luxury to be tired. And we are exhausted. And that's what I want to say to everybody. Oh, yeah, we are exhausted about all of this. But this ain't the time to be tired.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your yes. Rev D now.
Rev D now.
That could be a political party, a spiritual political party. Rev D now. What do we want? Rev D now.
It's
I
all
love you,
about
Rev
us,
D.
my brother. It's all about us.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. It's been real.
Been real.
We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we
Back
thank
at
God
you.
for you. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.